everyone, this is Gabby from mythesiscoach.com, and today I want to talk about tenses making you tense. Now, clients often ask me, what tense do I use when I write my thesis or my proposal? So in this quickie video, I want to give you some hints around which tenses to use when you are writing your long-form research project. So let's start off by talking about the proposal. In the proposal introduction, you will mostly use a mixture of tenses. You might use past tense when you are telling us the previous research that has been done up until this point. You might use present tense when you are talking about the phenomena that your study is going to be looking at. And you will use future tense when you talk about what you want your research to look at. So it would be something like, this project will focus on the plight of unemployed adults in a small town. So there you would use future tense. So that introduction is a mix of tenses. The literature review will use present tense most of the way through. So that's when you would say, Noodleman et al. Explain that, blah, 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 blah. Or Smith 2017, page 19, says that, there's your direct quote. So mostly present tense in the literature review. And then in your research design or your research methods chapter, whatever you call it, there you would use future tense. Remember, this is your proposal. And in your proposal, you are telling the reader what you are going to do once you get going on the actual project. So those are the tenses in your proposal. Let's talk about the tenses in the thesis itself. So the introduction, again, will likely have that mix of tenses. It will have past tense if you want to draw on any past work to explain where you're situating your project. It'll have present tense if it's describing a current phenomena, if you want to set that background for the reader. And in the thesis itself, in the introduction, you will likely use future tense in the introduction to tell the reader what you are going to be doing or what the rest of the thesis is going to be doing. So you might say, chapter 2 is going to focus on the blah, 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 blah. And in chapter 3, the thesis will shift to looking at whatever it might be. So that's knocking things over. I'm so excited. So that is where you will use future tense in your introduction, in the thesis itself. The literature review, again, will be in that present tense. So it will be Sibanda 2015 describes the phenomena as blah, blah, blah. It's always that present tense. Even though the source was written in 2015, still that present tense here. That's always for your literature reviews. And then finally, almost finally, in the research methods section or the research design chapter of your thesis, you will, for a lot of it, you'll use past tense because you'll be telling the reader what you did to gather your data. So you would say 10 interviews were held, or a discourse analysis was carried out. You'd be using past tense because by the time it comes to writing your thesis, likely you will have already collected all your data, or at least you will be writing as if you have collected your data. When it comes to the results, when you come to writing up your data in the results chapter, that is when you will use present tense again. So the findings show that, whatever it will be, 90% of participants use green toothpaste on Tuesdays. It's a silly sentence, but it's that present tense use over there. And so on and so forth. Really, the only time you're going to come to be using future tense is when you get to the recommendations, which you'll likely have in your conclusion chapter, where you recommend future action or future areas for research, and there you would use future tense. So I hope this little chat through the various tenses that you'll use for your thesis has been helpful. I want to remind you of our Facebook group, Thesis Writers Striving and Thriving. If you have any questions around the use of tenses or really anything else thesis related, that is a great place to come and join and ask your questions. I hang out there a lot. It's a great place to get me on board to answer your questions. For anything else, please do visit mythesiscoach.com. I would love to hear more about your thesis wins, your thesis challenges going forward. And I look forward to connecting with you next time. Bye.